Imagine walking at the break of dawn, when the world is still half asleep and the air feels almost heavy with secrets. You step forward and your feet touch a cobbled street that seems older than time itself. The mist rolls in thick waves around your ankles, drifting slowly upward until it veils the walls, the windows, and even the rooftops. You can't see far ahead, only a faint glimmer of light spilling from somewhere deep in the distance. Every step feels like it's leading you somewhere important, though you don't yet know where or why. The city doesn't speak in the way people do, but it speaks all the same. The groan of an old wooden sign swinging in the wind, the faint creak of shutters as if they've opened just a fraction to watch you pass. These are the whispers of a place that remembers. Even the silence here is alive. You feel it pressing close, wrapping you in a strange mix of welcome and warning, as though the city is glad you've come but not sure if you belong. The streets twist and turn like they were designed by someone who loved confusion. No straight paths, no easy exit, only winding lanes that lead you deeper and deeper. You pass doorways painted in fading colors, each one a different shade of history. Some are guarded by worn stone steps that sag under centuries of weight. Others are framed by carved wooden arches whose patterns tell stories you almost understand. Then you notice it, the way each street feels different. One road smells faintly of cinnamon and smoke, as though fires long extinguished still burn in some hidden hearth. Another is lined with cracked fountains, their water stilled, but their carvings showing creatures that might have once leapt from their stone prisons. Every turn brings something new, but nothing here feels accidental. It's as if the city itself is leading you, showing you pieces of a puzzle you're meant to solve. The mist never leaves. It drifts between the buildings, curling around lampposts, sliding over doorsteps, blurring your vision until the edges of the world seem to fade away. Sometimes it moves against the wind, as though following you, guiding you, or maybe watching you. You begin to feel that the mist is more than weather. It's a veil, a curtain hiding truths that aren't ready to be seen yet. And just when you think you're alone, you catch glimpses. A shadow slipping across the mouth of an alley, a flicker of movement in a high window, the echo of footsteps that don't match your own. You turn to look, but nothing's there. Or maybe something is, just not where you expect. The city plays with your senses, making you question what's real and what's imagined. The deeper you go, the more the stories start to emerge. A faded mural on a crumbling wall shows a gathering of cloaked figures, their hands raised toward a darkened moon. A cracked tile in the middle of the road reveals an emblem, worn by years but still sharp enough to suggest importance. You find a bench carved with words in a language you don't speak, but somehow you understand their meaning. Not all who come here leave unchanged. There's a pull here, like the city doesn't just want you to see it. It wants you to feel it. Every sight, every sound, every breath of the mist is weaving itself into you, asking you to remember it even when you're gone. And you realize something. Maybe the forgotten tales of this city aren't entirely forgotten. Maybe they're simply waiting for the right person to hear them. So you walk on, slower now, letting the city tell its story in its own time. You no longer rush to escape the mist. Instead, you let it fold around you, soft and cold, carrying with it the weight of countless years and countless lives. You are both visitor and witness, part of a moment that has been happening long before you arrived and will continue long after you leave. And as the last trace of sunlight fades behind the mist, you understand why people call it a place of mystery. It's not just the fog, or the twisting streets, or the sense that the city itself is alive. It's the way it makes you feel, like you've stepped into a dream you didn't know you'd been having all your life, and you may never truly wake up from it. Night falls differently here. It doesn't arrive in a rush, but in slow, deliberate waves, as though the darkness is testing the edges of the streets before it fully claims them. The last pale glow of daylight retreats into the mist, leaving behind a deep velvet blue that swallows every rooftop and alley. It is then that the lanterns awaken. They do not flare to life like modern lights, but flicker hesitantly, as if they too are unsure of what the night might bring. Their glow is warm, but it never quite reaches the ground, leaving deep pockets of shadow between each pool of light. Those shadows are not empty. They move, stretch, and curl like smoke in the corners of your eyes. Sometimes they slide across the walls without reason, as though chasing something you can't see. Other times they linger still, watching, waiting. And if you listen carefully, truly listen, you will hear them breathe. The sound is not loud, not even clear, but it is there, hidden beneath the creak of the wooden shutters and the faint whistle of wind through narrow streets. The air is sharper now, carrying with it a cold that feels older than the stones under your feet. Each breath comes out in a cloud, mingling with the mist until you can't tell where you end and the night begins. Somewhere above, the lantern chains sway gently, their iron hooks groaning as if they are tired of holding up so many years of light. Each flicker of their flames sends ripples through the darkness, and for a moment you think you see faces in the shifting glow, faces that vanish the instant you try to focus on them. The city at night is a different creature. What seemed mysterious in daylight now feels alive in ways that are both alluring and unsettling. You pass a narrow passage where the lantern light refuses to enter, and though you cannot see beyond its entrance, you feel the weight of eyes from deep within. You quicken your step, but the shadows seem to follow, stretching along the walls beside you like companions you never invited. Occasionally the whispers come, soft, fragmented, and impossible to trace. They curl around your ears like drifting smoke. You can't be certain whether they are carried by the wind or born from the shadows themselves. Some seem almost kind, murmuring words that sound like welcome. Others are sharper, cutting through the air with the tone of warnings. You tell yourself it's nothing more than your imagination, but the steady rhythm of those whispers convinces you otherwise. In one small square, an ancient lantern hangs lower than the rest, its glass cracked in one corner, the metal frame bent from some long, forgotten incident. Its light trembles as though nervous, and beneath it, the cobblestones form a spiral pattern you hadn't noticed before. You stand there for a moment, listening, and you realize the whispers are louder here. They overlap, hundreds of voices, none distinct yet all urgent, like a chorus trapped just beyond the edge of sight. The wind shifts, and with it, the lantern flames bend toward one street in particular, a narrow lane swallowed almost entirely by shadow. It feels like an invitation and a warning at the same time. Your pulse quickens, but your feet carry you forward, each step echoing faintly, each echo answered by a sound that might not be your own. The further you go, the more the lantern light fades until you are walking in a world of silhouettes and whispers. Then a sudden flicker, somewhere behind you, a lantern sputters and dies, and the shadows leap in to claim the space it once held. They spill over the walls and the street, curling around your legs like tendrils. For a moment you feel them pull, not with force, but with suggestion, as if urging you to stay, to listen, to understand something that only the dark can tell. You don't know how long you stand there. The air grows colder, the whispers clearer, and you begin to sense meaning in them. Not in words you can translate, but in feelings that sink deep into your bones. Regret, longing, a promise made and broken, a warning that what has been forgotten is never truly gone, and then, just as suddenly, the lanterns ahead flare back to life. The shadows retreat, though not entirely, clinging stubbornly to corners and arches. The whispers fade into the night air, leaving only the sound of your own breath and the soft creak of the lantern chains above. You move forward slowly, knowing the shadows are still there, waiting, patient as the city itself. You will never walk these streets the same way again. There is a presence here that does not belong to the present. You can feel it the moment you cross the threshold into the city, though no walls mark the boundary. It is something older than memory, older than the stones in the streets, older even than the whispered stories that drift through the mist. The air itself feels charged, as though invisible threads are woven through it, tugging at your every step. People say that long ago, when this place was little more than a gathering of houses on a lonely hill, a spell was cast, a spell so deep and binding that it sank into the bones of the city and into the blood of all who came after. No one agrees on who cast it or why. Some claim it was an act of protection, a safeguard against forces too dangerous to name. Others say it was punishment, a net thrown over the city to keep its people trapped with the weight of their own misdeeds. What everyone agrees on is that it has never been broken. You notice its influence not in grand gestures, but in subtle turns of fate. A stranger arrives, and their life changes in ways they never expect. A resident steps beyond the city limits and returns days later with no memory of where they've been. Paths seem to twist without moving, drawing people to places they did not mean to find. Decisions that feel like your own have a way of echoing choices made by countless others before you, as if the city is gently steering you towards something inevitable. The spell is not just in the air, it's in the stones, the timber, the ironwork. When the wind moves through the narrow streets, it carries more than the scent of damp earth and lantern oil. It carries intention. It is said that the sound of the bells at midnight does not come from any tower, but from the spell itself, reminding the city that it still holds sway. Sometimes in the quiet, you think you hear a low hum beneath your footsteps, like the city's heartbeat keeping time with your own. Those who live here do not speak openly about it, but their lives are shaped by its unseen hand. Doors open for some and refuse others. Letters arrive with no sender and vanish when no one is looking. There are places that everyone knows, but no one admits to visiting. Streets that seem to appear only when the spell chooses to reveal them. The strange thing is that people don't fight it. They accept it, even when it leads them into danger, as though deep down they understand that resisting the spell would be far worse than yielding to it. And yet there are those who have tried. Stories tell of merchants who came with plans to build new fortunes here, only to leave with nothing but empty purses and restless dreams. Travelers who entered laughing and returned silent, their eyes fixed on things only they could see. Some say the spell chooses who may stay and who must leave, who will thrive and who will be lost, and once it has chosen, there is no changing its mind. At night, when the city grows quiet and the mist presses close, the spell feels strongest. You might find yourself walking without knowing why, your steps guided toward an unlit alley or a door you've never noticed before. You might feel the faintest pull at your chest, as if something deep within you is answering a call you cannot hear. The longer you remain, the more the city learns you, memorizing your movements, your voice, your fears. The spell works patiently, never rushing, but always moving you toward the place where it needs you to be. Some believe it feeds on stories, that every choice you make here, every path you take, becomes part of the city's endless memory, and in return, it offers you glimpses of truths you could not find anywhere else. Others think it is simply waiting. For what? No one can say. Perhaps for a moment that will set something right, or for a person whose arrival will change the city forever. Whatever its purpose, you cannot deny its presence. It is there in the way the streets curve to meet you, in the flicker of lantern light when you pass, in the feeling that no step you take is truly your own. The spell is patient, and it is permanent. Once you are here, you belong to it, whether you realize it or not, and it will decide in its own time what that belonging truly means. It began on a night when the mist lay heavier than usual, curling low over the cobblestones and swallowing the glow of the lanterns until they looked like tiny islands of fire in an endless sea of gray. The city was still, the way it often is just before something important happens. Doors were closed, windows shuttered, and the only sound was the slow, deliberate drip of water from a forgotten gutter. Then came the sound of footsteps, steady, unhurried, yet carrying an unspoken certainty that they belonged here, even if no one knew why. The figure emerged from the haze like an unfinished sketch, the details filling in only as they drew closer. A long coat travel, worn and wet at the edges, boots dusted with a red earth that did not belong to these streets, a face partly hidden beneath the brim of a dark hat, and eyes that seemed to hold far more than they revealed. They paused at the edge of the square, their gaze sweeping slowly over the buildings as though measuring the city's heart with a glance. No one saw where they came from. There had been no carriage through the gates, no ship at the harbor, no footsteps on the road leading in. They simply appeared as though stepping from one world into another. Those few who watched from behind curtains and half-opened shutters could not explain the sudden weight in the air, the strange tightness in their chests. It was not fear, but an unshakable sense that something had shifted, quietly, invisibly, but in a way that would be felt for a very long time. The stranger did not hurry. They walked the winding streets with the ease of someone who had studied them long before setting foot here. They passed doorways and corners where shadows were known to linger, and the shadows seemed to part for them without hesitation. Some claimed later that the mist itself bent away from their path, as though the city was acknowledging their presence. By the next morning, their arrival had become the only thing anyone spoke of, though always in whispers. Shopkeepers exchanged fragments of sightings. A baker swore they saw the stranger pause to study the cracked spiral pattern in the old square before moving on. A child claimed the stranger handed them a coin, though no one had ever seen its markings before. The watchman at the east quarter insisted he'd glimpsed the stranger's eyes, clear and sharp, but with a depth that made him feel as if he'd been read like a book. The real change began quietly. A locked door that hadn't been opened in decades was found unlatched one morning, with no sign of who had entered. The long, silent bells in the old clock tower rang once at dusk, a single hollow note that seemed to hang in the air long after it faded. In the market square, a fountain that had been dry for years began to trickle with water again, though no rain had fallen for weeks. Everywhere the stranger went, something seemed to stir. An alley no one remembered suddenly led to a courtyard filled with blooming vines. A broken lamp lit itself as they passed. Even the whispers in the shadows grew bolder, slipping into the ears of those who had never heard them before. The city, which had seemed content in its slow, secretive rhythms, was now shifting like a restless sleeper. People began to dream differently, vivid, unsettling visions that felt like memories they had never lived. Some woke with the feeling that they had been given a warning. Others woke with a strange, unshakable hope. No one could explain it, and perhaps that was the most unsettling part. The strangers spoke little, revealing nothing of their purpose, yet their presence was undeniable. They were not merely passing through, they were moving with intention, each step connecting to something unseen. It was as if an invisible thread tied them to the city's oldest, most guarded secrets, and every movement tugged those secrets closer to the surface. And so, without fanfare or announcement, the chain of events began. Small things at first: a chance meeting, a misplaced letter, a locked box left on a doorstep with no sender. But small things grow quickly in a place where time moves strangely. And before long, the city would understand that the stranger had not simply arrived. They had been called. The moment they stepped from the mist, the balance shifted, and there would be no turning it back. It begins as a quiet pull, subtle enough that you could dismiss it as simple curiosity. The streets beckon you onward, each turn offering something new: an archway draped in ivy, a narrow staircase disappearing between buildings, the faint sound of water running somewhere far below. You want to see more, to know more, but with every step the air grows heavier. The city seems to lean closer, its walls and windows silently watching, as if measuring your resolve. You tell yourself you're not afraid, yet your heartbeat has quickened. You notice the way your eyes dart toward every flicker of movement, the way your breath shortens in narrow passages where the mist gathers thick and still. And yet, even as unease coils in your chest, there's an undeniable thrill in it, a sense that you are brushing against something rare, something not meant for everyone to find. The deeper you go, the more the city changes. The lanterns become fewer, their light growing dimmer, until you walk through stretches of shadow where the ground is visible only in fleeting glimpses. Your ears strain to catch every sound, the faint echo of your own footsteps, the quiet hum of the wind weaving between the roofs, the rustle of someone just out of sight. You are not sure if these noises are warnings or invitations. The buildings here are older, their stones darker, the carvings on their walls strange and intricate. Some are worn smooth by centuries, others sharp as though chiseled yesterday. You run your fingers along one and feel a chill that has nothing to do with the cold. You imagine the hands that shaped it long ago, and wonder if they too walked these streets with the same mingling of wonder and wariness. It is here that the city begins to play with your mind. A street you pass feels oddly familiar, though you are certain you've never been here before. A doorway you could swear was closed is now standing ajar, revealing a sliver of darkness within. Shadows bend strangely around corners, their shapes not matching the objects that cast them. You find yourself questioning your senses, unsure whether you are uncovering truths or slipping into illusions. There are moments when the fear rises sharply, when the silence grows so complete that you feel trapped inside it, like prey waiting to be found. But then you catch sight of something beautiful, a balcony overflowing with silver-leafed vines that shimmer faintly in the dim light, a mosaic tiled into the street that glows softly as though lit from beneath. These moments are enough to keep you moving forward, chasing the city's wonders even as its mysteries tighten their grip. Every choice feels like a test. Do you follow the sound of faint music drifting through the mist, or do you stay on the main street? Do you pause to examine the cracked statue that seems to turn its head when you're not looking, or do you pretend you didn't notice? The city offers no guidance, only the quiet certainty that whichever path you choose, it will change you. Your fascination grows alongside your caution. You find yourself leaning into the darkness instead of avoiding it, peering down alleys where the mist is thickest, touching the cold iron gates that guard courtyards you cannot enter. Each risk is a small surrender, and each surrender draws you deeper into the city's hold. At some point, you realize there's no clear line between what draws you forward and what holds you back. Fear and fascination have intertwined so completely that you no longer know which is which. The things that make your pulse race are the same things that keep you walking, and the closer you get to the city's heart, the more you understand that this is exactly how it wants you to feel. Perhaps that is its truest magic, not in the shadows that move or the streets that shift, but in its ability to make you want what you should avoid, to keep you pressing on when you know you've gone too far. And so you walk on, each step a blend of dread and desire, knowing that whatever waits ahead will not be what you expect, but certain that you will not turn back. The city does not give up its secrets easily. They are locked deep, hidden in layers of stone and shadow, buried under so many years of quiet that most who pass through never even realize they exist. It is a place that guards itself well, testing anyone who dares to look too closely. You cannot stumble upon the truth here by accident. You must go searching for it, and that search will demand more from you than you expect. Courage is the first key. The streets will not always welcome you. There will be doors that seem to open of their own accord, but stepping through them will take you to places where the air feels heavy with something unspoken. You will face moments when your instincts tell you to turn back, when the mist feels too thick, when the silence presses so hard against your chest that it becomes difficult to breathe. In those moments, courage is not about being unafraid. It is about moving forward in spite of the fear, trusting that the path ahead, no matter how uncertain, is the one you are meant to take. But courage alone is not enough. This city was built like a puzzle, and wit is what allows you to see the patterns hiding in plain sight. A carving on a crumbling wall might be more than decoration. It could be a map, or a warning. The words etched into an old fountain may seem like nonsense until you notice that certain letters are worn more than others. Even the way the lanterns sway in the wind could be a signal if you know how to read it. The city hides clues in the smallest of details, and it rewards those who pay attention. Then there is the matter of the heart. An open heart is the most difficult thing to carry here, because it means letting yourself be changed by what you discover. It means seeing the people of this place not as shadows in the mist, but as lives, some long past, some still lingering. You must be willing to listen to their stories, even when they are not told in words. You will find them in the wear of the cobblestones, in the way certain windows are kept lit long after the rest have gone dark, in the quiet offerings left at forgotten corners. To truly uncover the truth, you must care enough to understand it, not just observe it. There are those who have come before, driven by greed or vanity, who thought they could wrestle the city's secrets into the light by force. They failed, every one of them. They mistook the city's silence for weakness, when in truth it was strength. The city waits for those who can approach it with patience, with respect, with the balance of daring and humility. As you go deeper, you may find yourself faced with choices that will shape more than your own journey. The truth here is not a single, shining treasure to be lifted from the earth. It is a living thing, fragile and easily damaged. To uncover it is also to protect it, to decide how much of it should be shared and how much should remain hidden. This is where the courage, the wit, and the heart come together, guiding you not just to find answers, but to know what to do with them. And when at last you reach the place where the silence has held its breath for centuries, you will understand why the city does not give up its truths to just anyone. The truth you uncover will not belong to you alone. It will be part of you, yes, but it will also belong to the city, to its past and its future. It will be a thread woven into the fabric of something far greater than yourself. The silence will not break with a roar, but with a whisper, soft, certain, and unforgettable, and you will know that you were meant to hear it. And so the mist will close behind us, carrying our footsteps into its endless memory. The city will keep its secrets, but it will remember those who dared to walk its heart. Until we meet again, may your courage, wit, and heart guide you through every shadowed path.